Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. We are looking at the trade candidates. Let's go shopping, Big Daddy. Oh, let's talk ball. Devin Williams.
Slashed you.
It's down the line. Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball, presented to you by SeatGeek. Thanks to SeatGeek for being with us, man, throughout the postseason, throughout the regular season, even the offseason. Go to SeatGeek, go to a concert, buy tickets to your team next year. Whatever you're doing, use code TALKIN10 because that's going to get you 10% off any tickets, whether you're buying them now or not. Just open up the app, put in code TALKIN10 now, and save 10% off the next time you get something. Thank you to SeatGeek. And Trev, that's kind of like, the free agency price tag. Sometimes that can be scary, but if you got to trade a couple slapdicks to bring in what you need. Speaking of, how are you, Trev?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited to get into this episode because I feel like, there's always rumors about this team wants to do that and this team wants to do this. But a lot of times, and I'll channel my inner Scott Boras here, a lot of window shoppers out there. A lot of window shoppers. Anyone going to go and make the freaking purchase? I think we'll get into it. I haven't seen him.
No Nobu dates for you too?
Season ended. No, not yet. Down in Orange County. What's that Mexican place down there? Javier's?
What's he say when he sees you? Like, doesn't he have like a standard go-to? I'm blanking. Okay. I thought he had like a love watching you play line or something like that.
No.
Okay. Okay. No, he did
not. He does
not
say hi to me, and we are buddies. We are buddies. Yeah, but I think there are some teams that are going to put the credit card down and go make the purchase pop. I think there's teams that are ready to go. They need the clothes.
Yeah. So
they're going to go shopping. And there are some big names I think that will change teams in this offseason of 2024. 25. 24.
Yeah, man. I think it's 25.
I think so too.
Whatever website you look at kind of has it labeled differently. We kind of need to agree on something because it's messy.
I don't like, like basketball does and football kind of do like the 2024-2025.
Right.
They kind of have to because their season runs that way, but baseball is usually clean.
I think it's the 25 off season.
Yeah, I would agree on that. If I had a vote, I would say the 2025 off season. Yeah,
2024 is over.
Yes,
it's over.
2025 off season, 2025 spring training, 2025 season, 2025 postseason. Boom,
done. Boom. We figured that out for everyone, and hopefully we figure out some trades. Because Trev, I think one of the cool things is, I don't want to say there's a figured out formula, but in the current state of baseball, like you can kind of see the 1-year guys. It's always been that way a little bit, like the trade rental crew / just 1 year left. And now the 2-year guys, we also know there's a formula there, especially at the trade deadline when there's 1.5. But we always like when a team gets their business done because what are we doing? And like we said, depending how you do the trade, obviously every GM and every fan base is scared to give up their top prospect they've heard of for 3 years. And, if this guy turns into a stud, you've got a guy for 6 years who's cost control. The other side of that is, between 40-man stuff and having positions blocked and, the free agent pool, we talk about some of the price tags that free agents are going to get that, I think we'll talk about Jordan Montgomery in a minute. There's some Luis Castillo rumors that the price tag you may have to pay for him when you factor in the money, that may be better for your team than bidding for a Max Fried or something like that. Not to throw our guy Max under the table. He's just about to get so paid that, only so many front offices can deal with that. So, I'm ready to sink my teeth in. Do you have any other precursors or preambles or any pre?
No, I do think it is an interesting off season though, because there I think there's a lot of people available as teams start to like navigate this regional sports network debacle,
Ooh.
and I just think there's a lot of economics that are shifting in the game, so teams are kind of resetting or rethinking how they're going to go about their business. So with that, I think brings a lot of opportunity for trades, and a lot of teams are trying to get back under the threshold, or like I said, the Twins, for example, go from Bally's and their TV contract deal now dealing with the MLB. They're going to have a lower revenue stream from that. So are they saying, yeah, we got to trim the payroll down again? Like there are teams that they're thinking business wise, and that's going to affect the rosters here. So I think this offseason is going to be, I think it might be spicy, Jake.
Yeah, and I guess the other, I'll do one Jakey cross sports thing. We've seen in the your NFL, especially your LA Rams, that for years NFL draft picks were kind of like hoarded. Like that is the juice. That is how you replenish, and that's how you want to rebuild it. Blah blah blah, all that. Your Rams for a few years there were like, hey, let's trade our first round pick and get a good NFL player. And I do think we've seen teams more recently hug their prospects a little less. Like Tanner Scott got an actual price tag at the deadline. Like even when the Dodgers traded for Scherzer and Turner, like I know the Nats are reaping some benefits from that, but they're also like not in some ways. Like I don't know, some of the bigger pieces in that trade, prospects change very quickly in baseball with whoa, this catcher can't throw out runners, or this guy can't hit a slider. So now are you a top 50 prospect anymore? Are you fighting for a gig? So I do think teams in recent years, the Padres with Preller, like Seattle's always doing funny business. I think we have seen a lot of teams, if you need to go get someone, go get them, because your prospects are not promised to be anything. Although I did see, shout out to my Marlins, Xavier Edwards, who was the slapdick prospect traded, he balled out last year.
Yeah.
He had like a 400 on base and 30 swipes in 70 games. Get ready for that Marlins TPP. Might be one of the first ones. Ooh, feeling spicy today, Trev. Let's I think the easiest way to do this, because our Dalton and BBD got together and they put together a delightful sheet on this that we have. I think we start with the popular trade candidates sheet, because we have players with 1 year of control, 2 years of control. There was also a page at the end. This is just inside for us that made me laugh. It was labeled colors, and it's just the teams and their colors. I don't know.
That's some Excel.
I don't know if we needed that.
Funny business.
I guess to make the sheet pretty, that helps.
Dalton likes to have that on hand in the sheet so then he can color code.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It was funny for me going
surprised
through all
when
this,
you stumble upon that.
Going through all this
Let's
information.
start there. Let's start on that page.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone knows
it's
the
a
colors
nice
of the
blue.
Yankees.
Trev, let's do some starting pitchers, because we have a little bit of a grab bag, and we've been friendly this morning. Starting pitchers usually get you a little feisty, so we'll get riled up again. And we've got, like I said, a little bit of a hodgepodge between Garrett Crochet. How about this?
I think he's the guy.
He's
I
the
think
guy.
He's the guy you start with. Yeah.
He had the highest K per 9 of starting pitchers in baseball. He was a number 1 pick. We saw this guy in college mowing people down because he threw a hunch. He got called up in the White Sox when they were supposed to be the World Series White Sox, and then things took a turn that he took off last year. He has years of control. He's probably the most popular, the prize of the trade market. I think Jeff Passan, your friend, said that. And then it scatters a little bit. Monty's a super interesting one. Luis Castillo, like I mentioned. But Garrett Crochet seems to be the guy that teams are targeting this offseason.
He's got 2 years of control left, via arbitration. So that's always something that, when you're trading for a guy, you want to know that he's going to be there and cost controlled. So that's very appealing for teams. He was supposed to go at the deadline last year, and there were some stipulations around what he would do. He wasn't going to pitch in the postseason. What were the stipulations? I'm kind of blanking. He did not want to go into the bullpen.
He didn't want to be a reliever. I remember that. And then I think that was the big hurdle, right?
What was the postseason thing though?
I thought it was.
We might have to go back and
there
check
was some
that out.
line about that.
Okay, I'll look into
He's
that.
trying to, he was trying to protect himself, and again, sometimes it doesn't come across great for a fan base.
He said he wanted a long-term contract
to
if he
pitch
was
in the
going to pitch in the postseason.
If he was going to pitch.
That's
Yeah.
I remember the long-term contract thing.
Yeah. So I think again, a lot of people are like, hey man, just shut up and do your job. At the same time, if you put yourself in his situation and you're talking to your agent and he's like, hey, like you really only get one shot to earn some money in this game. Like it's very hard to get there and you work your whole life. So there are times where you do have to protect yourself, and he felt like he was able to have some leverage. And so he took a shot at it and ended up not getting traded, obviously, stay with the White Sox. They really kind of held him back there at the end of the year. But I've seen this guy pitch. I've called a few games with him on the mound, and there are times where he's absolutely unhittable. Absolutely unhittable. He's a bona fide ace. And, he's begun to, get the inning count up. But if you're talking about a guy that you can plug right into pretty much any situation, and have success with him, it's Garrett Crochet. Now, Chris Getz, the general manager of the White Sox, during this last trade deadline, the talk was he was asking for a king's ransom, which he should have been. I mean, This was a guy that didn't need to trade. I said it even during that time. I said, look, Getz is dealing with a lot of stuff right now. They're the worst team in baseball history. He's got a lot of guys to trade. It could be overwhelming at times, especially when there is a deadline up against you. I said he could wait until the offseason, still get a similar, if not a better haul, because he'll have time to negotiate, time to talk to teams. And I think that's where he probably ended up. And here we are. And this is, I think the GM meetings are this week, and I'm sure that he's going to be really, this is the guy. I mean, he's got him and Luis Robert obviously are kind of tied together, but Crochet, in my opinion, is like the guy of the offseason to get traded.
Yeah, you're every team coming up with their offseason plans, or every fan base, because that's what we are. You guys know your team better than us. If there's a Crochet trade for your team, it makes your offseason a whole lot better, because if you think your team needs a Garrett Crochet, that's going to cost you 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 million a year, depending the kind of starting pitcher you're looking to add. So if you can trade prospect capital, which you're talking, again, we're talking out of our bums a little bit because Chris gets the final decision and you need a trade partner to dance, but you're going to need at least 2 bona fide prospects. You're going to need, depending which way they want to go with it. And this is the whole thing that we don't need to run through, but do the White Sox want to get 5 prospects and 2 of them are studs and 3 of them are long shots? Do they want to get 3 prospects where all 3 of them are top 100, something like that? Like, this is a king's ransom because this is going to allow your team to do more this offseason. Garrett Crochet is going to get paid, what do we think, like $3 million? I don't have his ARB number up, but if that $25 million,
I would go higher. Yeah.
If you were saving that for the other starting pitcher, now you could go put $20 million to go get your third baseman, to go get your left fielder, to go get whatever it is. I'm interested to see how that market develops. Like I guess Trev, you've always been our West Coast guy and our Central America guy. Guatemala,
exactly.
Peru. That's not Central America. Panama.
Okay.
I guess I'm interested to see how this market develops because for years it was the Orioles have all this capital, and when are they going to cash in? They started to cash in. They haven't fully deposited. Are they looking to do that? I know their GM came out and kind of said hey, we're not as deep as we used to be. I'm done cashing in, which if I was an Orioles fan, I'd be like, what? Everyone wonders if the Red Sox are going to get back in the dance. And, they've been a little different in free agency. Would they see an opportunity like this to cash in? People are calling for Chris Sale 2.0. The Dodgers are just a constant threat. And yet at the same time, as I mentioned in some of these bigger teams in the past couple years, like we said, everything financially, if you are the team that can't go out and get the bigger free agent, this is the guy you almost need to get if you have the prospect capital for it. So I don't know. I'm not putting you on the spot like, hey, you got the team for me, because that's not exactly how this works.
I got a few teams.
Let's hear them.
I mean, I think this is where you try to figure things out by looking at, who has the loaded farm systems. But the truth is, Chris Getz has a certain type of player in mind that he wants, and maybe, he doesn't have to go to, the Cubs have one of the best farm systems. The Red Sox have one of the best farm systems, but maybe, Chris Getz likes somebody from, the Rangers farm system better and specifically wants those guys. So this is where it kind of, we don't know, obviously. But I think he does fit on the Red Sox. That's a great landing spot for him. We really thought that the Orioles were going to cash in some of those chips, and their farm system has taken a little bit of a hit because they started to graduate guys, but they still have very young, controllable players, which is basically what, a farm system would be. So the Orioles are an obvious landing spot. The Red Sox are an obvious landing spot. And, you could look at anybody. The Dodgers are going to be in play for a lot of these guys. I think they have an idea of what they want to do in the offseason, but pretty much every team, you're talking about a bona fide ace starting pitcher, every team's going to try to be in on this guy. So I think my top 3 teams, if I had to name them, would be the Orioles, the Red Sox, and then kind of like a sneaky one would be the Tigers. So, they have a chance if they make some moves, the Tigers specifically, to really put together a crazy strong rotation, because you can go. I have Jack Flaherty already going there. No inside info, but I think I want him to go there. I think he had success. So it'd be Skubal, Cater Montero, Jack Flaherty. Who's the guy just going to Jackson Jobe?
Crochet.
And then Crochet. You could realistically do that, and you could do that pretty easily. And all of a sudden, what are the Tigers? Where are they ranked in your preseason rankings? That's a formidable rotation right there. So I think he's a guy to put teams over the hump, and he's going to have a lot of interest, obviously. So I think I'm going to go Tigers. How about that?
Man, I feel like we're putting a lot of pressure on the Tigers front office.
Let's go Tigers.
I mean, my God. A team that snuck into the playoffs with kind of a good last month. Yeah, they went from Skubal rumors to now adding Crochet rumors. It's interesting, and that's where I didn't want to put you on the spot, but you crushed because you're just that guy. The Tigers could, create the window. It's kind of something we talk about. Hey, when a team's window is there, we hammer the table because we're always saying it's not going to be there as long as you think it's going to be there. So if it's there, which the Tigers might have just opened one, hey, I mean, Skubal and Crochet, how far can that, Skubal almost got them pretty far. How far could both of them? That's an interesting one to me. I don't know. I think it's going to be one of the big market boys. I don't think the Dodgers, they might just get Roki for free. So why even give up the capital?
No, they have so many pitchers coming back from injury too. I agree, but we've seen them just continue to stockpile pitching depth.
The Braves are always kind of lurking. I feel like they've been a little too quiet recently that for them to drop a bomb. I mean, Crochet and Chris Sale there. I'm a little scared of those AL East teams that it's okay, Boston, when are you gonna rejoin the party? And that's a guy that can do that. The Orioles, you've been at the party, but now, you're that meme of the guy standing in the corner, hey, the Orioles are back, right? And it's hey, let's do this if we're going to do this.
What's that meme?
It's we'll get it out. It's the guy in the corner of the party, It would be me saying, you guys know Xavier Edwards had a 390 OBP last year, right?
I think I know what you're talking about. I feel like the Orioles are the guy, like everyone's excited to get this guy to the party, and then he just got like too drunk and nobody wants him at the parties anymore.
Okay.
It's kind of how I feel about
the Orioles are like a 3-day music fest, and the first day they showed up from the Uber just bombed. It's like, guys, like let's enjoy this together. Hey, if you like pitching, why don't you check out this Blitzball Battle 5 pregame? It's been killing it. If you haven't watched, check this out.
We continued regular season action of Blitzball Battle 5. Pair of 1-0 teams are going at it, Love Yas and We Got Ice. There are two huge questions. Let's start first of all with We Got Ice. Is Jack Doyle healthy?
I think so. I think he answered some of those questions yesterday. It was an elbow issue, but he says he's fine when he's throwing. I'm not sure when else you're going to feel your elbow, but the question for me now goes to Love Yas. Nicky Cass kind of went missing until the last swing of the game, so I'd like to see him get started a little earlier.
Well, rumor has it he's going to give us a different look for the game. You'll have to tune in later today to see what that is. I think I'll go with Love Yas today. I loved what I saw out of Dalton Feely, particularly on the mound.
There was a confidence level to Dalton that I've never seen before. Can that carry over to today? I think so. He's emotional, but yesterday he was locked in. I picked We Got Ice to win the whole thing, so I have to pick We Got Ice.
Tune in for the fun later today. Blitzball Battle 5.
Again, that's at our Warehouse Games YouTube channel. It's awesome live chat if you catch it live. It's a great watch, super bingeable. Oh, there it is. 397. Look at that for a speedster.
So Jake's in the corner right there.
That's me.
That's
very
like
much
a monster
me.
Face. Okay.
just my face.
Dude, memes are so weird. I'm sorry.
Love me. I got to get back into the meme game. I was the meme king for a little bit.
You were memeing for a while. Gotta get back.
I let
I
myself
only have
go.
like 2 memes I mess with, and I think I shouldn't do them anymore.
That's good. Yeah, I forgot how bad you were. You figured out the guy and looking at the girl.
Yeah.
And the one girl was mad at him. We're hip. Trev, the other pitchers, which have very, different tones than Crochet. Crochet, I guess, is what you expect. Good young pitcher. It clicked. He's on a bad team. Here comes the prospect haul. Boom. Let's see if they get it done this offseason. I think where things get interesting for me, Jordan Montgomery, who was one of the bells of the ball last free agency, and this guy's hitting free agency perfectly. He strikes out Yordan Alvarez at will. Yeah. The Cardinals tapped into this sinker. He's nasty. It's perfect. Lefty. The weird free agency, which who knows, was that Boris? Was that collusion? Was that a combo? Who knows? He ended up on the Diamondbacks, and like a lot of pitchers that have had unique free agencies and get into town late, he struggled. And unlike a lot of pitchers that have had that happen, the team owner came out and was like, I'm done with this guy, which that was
said, quote, horrible decision and, quote, biggest mistake. So
Yapes. How about the name Ken Kendrick? Feel like we don't acknowledge that a lot out of the Snakes owner.
That's like a race car driver name for sure.
Ken Kendrick.
Wasn't there a pitcher named Ken Kendrick? What was his name? Kyle Kendrick.
Kyle Hendricks to the
Kyle
Angels.
Kendricks.
There was a Kyle Kendrick as well.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I thought you were.
I think I hit a homer off him. Pretty much.
I'm en route. The years overlap.
I thought you were starting to get to this Halos off season, which I'm not going to do this right now, but Darno, Kyle Hendricks, Soler.
Okay.
Feeling angel.
Those 6 Iron Men they have there. Played 152.
Jordan Montgomery,
One for 2 with a homer.
Yep. Eat it, Kyle Kendrick. Jordan Montgomery, prospect-wise, you might get for the price of on the house.
So yeah, this is a completely different one. I think we kind of we can't spend as much time as we did on Crochet on some of these guys. But yeah, he's a guy that, look, the owner says these things about him. It's not a good work scenario anymore. I think he's 100% going to get traded. The problem is he's owed $22.5 million. So for the Diamondbacks to unload that, I mean, they're going to have to eat a portion of the salary or include a prospect with him. This is going to be just a straight salary dump almost. So the way that I think about this is, and I don't think he has an option, right? It's just one more year at 22 and a half. Okay.
So I think he has something. Let me double check. And in my head, he does. No, he doesn't. This was his player option. This is it.
Yeah. So I think if you're a team, you're like, I can get a solid left-handed pitcher who's kind of been through everything that you can go through in the big leagues, and I can get him on a 1-year deal, and I could probably get him at, 17 mil. I think that's very appealing for a lot of teams, especially ones that are in their window who can use a little push to get over the hump, or want some starting pitching depth. And you could look at all the teams that basically were in the playoffs last year, like, I keep going back to the Tigers, but I think they're the one playoff team that really needed starting pitching. I mean, this could be a play that the Guardians make. There's just he fits on pretty much every single team because of it's a 1-year thing, and really there is no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. So I think there's gonna be a lot of suitors for him. He could go anywhere, and you're right. I think the Diamondbacks are the ones that are gonna really have to pay because they're trying to unload this contract.
Yeah, I'm fascinated from the D-back side because whatever team gets Monty, you just laid it out. Like, okay, you get a 1-year starting pitcher, a guy who's a bona fide starting pitcher that last year is clearly the outlier of his past 6 years. That, if it's one of the big boys and they get Jordan Montgomery, we're going to be like, watch out. Remember the postseason that guy had, 32 starts, a 3.2 ERA in 23. Even, how about this, Halos fans? I was just, I won't say mocking, but, if the Angels got Jordan Montgomery for 1 year, we'd be like, yes, LA. Like, okay, if he's good for you, awesome. If you guys are good, awesome. If you guys aren't, flip him at the deadline, a guy whose value will be back. So whatever team gets Monty, like, we already have our spiel laid out. It's just interesting for me from the D-back side because are they gonna attach a prospect? Are they going to take back another team's money? Like that was, the Yankees are interested with Marcus Stroman, who had a very Marcus Stroman year for them, but they didn't deem him usable in the postseason. So he's making 18 mil. Could there be something like that? Would the Diamondbacks want to go for pitching? Would they want to fill another need on their team? Or is it just like, hey, let's get off this money and we'll do whatever we want with it? Super interested to see their angle on it. I guess of these remaining pitchers, Trev, because on our sheet labeled popular trade candidates, I don't want to say there's one I'm going to poo-poo. I guess the one that I find interesting, Luis Castillo, because I think Seattle came out and said they were shopping him, which that's a good clue. That's a good hint.
Passan's article had he'd be the likeliest to go if they decide to move
from they have a ton of starting pitching depth.
I've been asking. I've been asking.
They don't need starting pitching. Like they have that. They need bats.
And it makes sense. Plug. Like, hey, like we talked about with the money, if you get off of Castillo's money, which that contract looks fine now, he's basically getting 25 mil a year the next 3, and there's an option at the end. He does have a full no trade clause, so that would be interesting. No idea where his head would be at on that. But yeah, Luis Castillo is the one that looks more interesting to me. Sonny Gray, I guess, is of a similar boat. Like St. Louis is definitely a wild card team this offseason. They could retool the whole thing. Nolan Arenado is on this list in a second that we'll talk about. From what I've heard, I think St. Louis wants to keep Sonny. I think they like the fit there.
Oh, I think he said he doesn't want to go anywhere.
And does he have the no
he
trade
also
too?
has that.
So
yes.
yeah,
So knowing Sonny, and he's got a family with young kids, if he feels like comfortable there and his family's happy, then I don't really see him waiving the no trade clause unless he says, okay, like this is a perfect situation. I just, it doesn't seem likely to me.
No,
he's in that. I think he's in like kind of that twilight age of his career where he's just, it's about more than baseball right now.
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening. Luis Castillo's interesting to me. Again, yeah, we're looking at a guy that's going to make, like about $75 million over the next 3 years, but he is a top end starting pitcher. who you can't have. I'd imagine because of the contract that it wouldn't require a ton of uh, prospect capital to get him. I don't think he wouldn't demand, one of your top 5 prospects. So he's an interesting one to me. He's 32 years old, I believe, right now. So I think you could still get some good prime years out of him. And trying to think who fits Luis Castillo. Again, we will say this with every starting pitcher, like every team could use him. God, he seems like a Boston Red Sox to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's what, well, and we're about to laugh, but what does Seattle want back? Would they be willing to take other money back? Do they want prospects back? Because it needs and should be hitters. But I just made myself laugh because as we get into some of these hitters, I was like, what if the Mariners and Cardinals got on the horn and started talking Castillo for Arenado? Like who really starts to flinch there first? I think Seattle would maybe want a little more, but I don't know. That's where the offseason gets so fun. It's the part that I love about it. And yeah, you mentioned the Red Sox there. I mean, my God, how many hitters did they have? That's
the thing. They have a ton of.
I hate that, Trev. Stop.
They have a ton of people at the major league level who have been proven big leaguers. You can talk about Casas. You can talk about you're Abreu. Who else is there? Like Yoshida's there, and then a bunch of their young prospects. I was just reading an article on CBS Sports. I'll give the guy a shout out.
Nice.
Mike Axisa.
Yeah.
Okay. He's talking. They have a bunch of lefties, like too many lefties. All the guys coming up are lefties. A lot of guys at the big level are lefties. Hey, you think Seattle could use a left-handed power bat? They could. So they're a fit there for me.
God, I hate that made sense, Trev. God damn it. Okay, great. Good for Boston. Let's get into the high-profile hitters, Trev. And like I teased it, Arenado has been a popular name around this office the past couple weeks. If St. Louis is trying to retool this, Alec Bohm. Okay, so the third basemen are a little hot in the streets. I'm also seeing Josh Naylor on this list, which I think people know my frustrations about that. Just because, God, him in the Guardians has been such a good fit, but he's on the last year of his deal. There's also a bunch of names at the bottom, some Rays guys, Cody Bellinger, Bo Bichette. So I'll let you go where you want, Trev.
Naylor's an interesting one to me because we know how the Guardians operate. I think I just love the fit there for him in Cleveland. It seems like, hey, you got a guy that has bought into what you're doing. Like, why not try to extend him? I don't even know what an extension would look like. So, they don't necessarily do that. And they gave J-Ram a deal. It's different. He's, Josh Naylor's not J-Ram. So they're like another team, like the Mariners. They've been searching for power and hitters. Like that's what they lack consistently. So if you have a guy that's your own guy, like let's try to keep him. So one guy that I keep going back to, and I don't know if you mentioned him, is Yandy Diaz. So he, I think, has 2 more years left on his deal, and then an option. So he's got, 1 year, $10 million next year, and then an option for 12. And he's a guy that I think your team, the Yankees, could really use. You could put him at first base. He's a guy that, historically has got on base. I think he started out slow this year, but his overall numbers and then from May 1st on were pretty damn good. So he's I think one guy that, knowing how the Rays operate, I think he's going to be going somewhere. And any team that's looking for that, first base, DH power, like a guy that can slug and get on base. I mean, who doesn't want that? So the Astros are going to be in on this guy. The Yankees are going to be in on this guy. I think that he's got a very good chance to be moved this offseason.
And the guy that pairs with him is Brandon Lowe. He has a very similar situation. It'll be $10.5 million this year, and then there's a team option for $11.5 million, which, again, if these guys perform, it's a very easy opt-in. And, hey, if baseball, something crazy happens the other way, to have that opt out, teams are kind of interested in too. That the Rays are going to be busy this offseason. I wonder if they're looking at it as we're going to trade one or two of them, or if, they are the Rays. This is why we talk about them in this manner. They could trade both. They could trade both in one trade. Like, we wouldn't be shocked at all. As I forgot that I think I'm riding a Rays hype train this upcoming year as they're getting a whole rotation back.
And a new stadium. Where are they going to play?
Yeah, we haven't gotten that. I know
we haven't got there yet.
They're looking at
their stadium will not be ready for 2025.
The Yankees High A Stadium. I don't know. I don't know. We'll hear about that a lot. Yeah, I kind of can't even, for Josh Naylor, I hope they figure something out, because it's a curious case. Offensively, he's been raking. He does not rack up WAR. This doesn't matter, but should matter. His baby bro's on the team. Like, I don't know what Josh Naylor thinks his free agent market would be, and I don't want to sell a guy short. But it feels like if there was a team that could figure out the extension here, that both sides could land in an okay place. Josh Naylor's still pretty young, and maybe if it was a 4-year deal that after 2 years they could still have interest in trading him. He's just such a fit there that if they trade him, I'm going to be Jakey sad boy guards and probably get their over-under wrong again.
Yeah, he's a fit there. Manzardo's like the guy they traded to, be his replacement. So, they got a little bit of taste of him there. Big homer in the postseason. Is he ready to step in? I don't know, man. I always say let's rack up a bunch of good players. Let's not just bank on one guy taking over. Let's have a couple options there. Yeah, I'm interested. Him and Yandy are going to be definitely talked about a lot in the offseason, because there are some teams that have playoff World Series aspirations that are kind of thin at that position.
Man, there's a lot of these baseball teams that wish they were using Indeed, Trev. That's how you search better. Maybe they do. Maybe Indeed has like a baseball side of it. When it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/talkin. So just go to Indeed.com/talkin right now. Support our show by saying you heard about us about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/talkin. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. You need Indeed. Trev, there's two names. There's a couple more big guys. We haven't done the big relievers yet. I want to do Luis Robert with you quick, because we did our Talkin' Yanks. If we were GMs, what would we do? If I was the Yankees GM, I would go get Luis Robert. He is getting $15 million this year. He has 2 team option years for $20 million each. So it's a very interesting case. Luis Robert, Cuban Mike Trout. Remember that?
Love Luis Robert.
He had that one kind of full season, I think 2023, where he went nuts. And he was living up to it. He's had a lot of injuries. He probably has a little case of the White Sox. If you're the White Sox, it's an interesting concept of, hey, if we can still trade for this guy, should we? Because if he has another injury-plagued year, I don't know if they're picking up the $20 million option. We just kind of saw them do this with Eloy. And I think if you're a team that can afford Luis Robert, I think you love the upside. If he balls out for your team next year, that $20 million option is no question. I mean, that's easy. So I don't know. For me, it depends on if the White Sox are like, hey, if Luis Robert comes back and he has a good first half, his value is all the way back up, and then we should trade him. Or, does fear kick in? Because if he gets injured in spring, he might never have trade value for them again.
Yeah, look, here's the thing with a guy like Luis Robert. I understand there's been some injuries. There's been basically just been injuries. So you have to worry about him being on the field. But you just don't find guys like this. That's
Yes.
the whole thing. So sometimes you got to take a chance. A guy that can play center field with the best of them, who can also, I mean, he had a 38 38 homers in 2023. You're talking about a guy who, you know, has the potential to be a 30-30 guy playing Gold Glove center field.
Yeah.
So, like, you take your chances on guys like that. I'm sorry, man. Yeah. Put him on the Yankees, get Judge out of center field. You could do that anywhere. How often have we talked about center field is a black hole for offense right now, besides Aaron Judge? Right. Anybody else? Him and Brent Doyle, by the way.
Jackson Merrill.
Jackson Merrill came in and changed things this year, but we talk about that all the time. It's like, it's one of these positions where, yeah, it's 100% defense first right now in baseball. So if you can get a guy that can give you that defense, plus, has the potential to have an incredible offensive season, and yeah, like he's a guy that I would take a chance on. Again, asking price matters. I don't know what Chris Getz is going to want for him. It's not going to be cheap, but I think you're right. If you're a team that wants Luis Robert right now, he's probably not going to be any cheaper. So like, you might have to give up some prospects, but it's going to be at, he's at a lower value than he probably should be right now. So when you see that happen, like when Bitcoin went down to, in the 20s, 29,000, you should have struck at that. Now it's at 89,000. Luis Robert could be like Bitcoin for people.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah. The more I think about it, perfect, Trev. Hey, how about the New York Mets? Like, and then the thing is, you could do this with any team. He was rumored to the Phillies.
The Phillies,
like,
yes.
He's been rumored to
Think
every
about what
team.
the teams that were in the playoffs were putting out there in center field. I mean, the Dodgers, thank goodness, traded for Tommy Edman and have Kike Hernandez, but they could have used Luis Robert out there. The Phillies are starting, Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh out there. Like you could figure some things out. Like he's a guy that definitely fits on a lot of teams because of what we said, man. That's just not an offensive position right now.
Well, and it is fun to start really daydreaming because, I mean, the one I keep stumbling into that like doesn't make sense and will not happen is if the Mariners traded for him and they just had, I mean, you could have him and J-Rod just do two outfielders. Like you don't play 5 infielders. Have one
Short
guy
fielder.
Have one guy play left center, one guy play right center. Like you don't. I mean, they're pitchers. I don't know. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. But I do think, I guess, even with that little conversation, there's going to be enough interest in his talent that I think you got to pull the trigger. Because, God, if he has a bad
baby
year,
birds, let's go, birds.
Right? If you end up at the end of this year and I see the post, the White Sox have declined Luis Roberts' team option, you screwed up.
That's not going to happen.
You screwed up. You screwed up. And then this one's a little hot on the streets, Trev. I don't know if you heard about this morning, but it's also making sense. Alec Bohm, who's been in some trade rumors throughout the years. He was also one of the more consistent Phillies player early on this season. There's a rumor the Phillies might be in on Bregman, which does he not fit the energy in that clubhouse?
Yes. Yes.
That the Phillies and my religion, Dave Dombrowski, they could flip Alec Bohm for whatever else they need, bring in Alec Bregman from the free agent pool, and I think Bregman, you guys threw out the Tigers for Bregman. Interesting. I do think, if you look at his spray chart, he's a guy that, those Crawford boxes have helped just a little bit. That, I think the ballpark has to come into consideration. And where Philly comes into play is you might have locked up Alex Bregman for 30 home runs the next 5 years again. That's become really interesting. And Alec Bohm at this point has proven he can hit for you.
Why not go sign Alex Bregman and then trade Alec Bohm to the Astros?
Okay.
Like,
Just tilt the world the whole okay.
Well, because here's the thing. Alec Bohm is get his defensive metrics up, Beavers. I know that he's not like a shining example of what defense can be at third base. I think there's times where he's mostly serviceable there, but you can also put this guy at first base and it'd be great. He's a guy that can make that move. So if you're a team, look, the Astros are going to have an opening at third base and first base.
Right.
So you could look at, you don't have to look at Alec Bohm as okay, pretty good. You don't have to look at him as a third baseman necessarily. I think he's hit enough where you could say we can put him at first base as well.
Yeah.
You maybe feel like you could tap into something a little bit more with him. I feel like at times he's been incredible. He's a little bit inconsistent there offensively, but I think there's some big years in him. So yeah, he doesn't have to be a third baseman. So he could fit on these teams that were talking about the need first baseman. And I think I've just talked myself into the Astros being a landing spot for him. Although I don't think that's really how they operate. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the first base, third base thing, that can be spun as a win because he can play third base. Like it shouldn't bring down your franchise.
And don't you think Alec Bohm would benefit from hitting at Minute Maid?
Wouldn't hurt. And the friendly confines of Citizens aren't too far off. But that can also GMs can view that as flexibility. Like if the Astros are like, well, hey, if Paul Goldschmidt wants to come here, we'll have Bohm play third for a year. If there's another third baseman out there we like Nolan Arenado in Houston, how do you like that? That can give them the flex. Oh God, that stung. Can't you just see that? The Astros trade for Arenado for their 10th prospect, and you're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so start penciling that in. I think of the big fish.
Have we talked about Devin Williams yet?
We're about to, Trev.
Okay.
Because that's a guy, if you find his card in your arena club, you're having a good day. God, Trevi Cards was deep in the game for a little bit. We got to bring that back. Arena Club. For everyone that's into collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 on a rookie card, that can be tough. That's I'm not there yet. But if you're into collecting and you're not ready to drop that kind of quiche, the slab packs from arenaclub.com, it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. We pulled a Luis Ariz card from the pack they sent us.
Nice.
Good on us. We like that a lot. So whether you're buying, selling, or trading or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform for you to check out. And right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/talkin. That's arenaclub.com/talkin for 10% off your first purchase. There is a link in the description. Hells, Bells, and Devin Williams, Trev. I'll be honest with you. There's a reason I delayed this a little bit. I am worried about their market because there's so many good relievers in the free agent pool.
Sure.
That to give up some of your prospect capital. And I'm not saying this, if you give up your prospect capital and you get Ryan Helsley or Devin Williams, you be hype. I know if my team does that, I will be very hype. I just think the way front offices work, and we know this, they're going to look at that free agent pool and say, well, if I could bring in Clay Holmes for $7 million and not give up my, two of my top 5 prospects, then I would rather do that. So that's where I'm a little nervous about this, but these are two teams that seem to be trading for different reasons, and they have elite closers to trade.
Yeah, so again, with the 1 year left before they're free agents, I don't know what type of prospect you'd have to give up. I'm actually, it's interesting to think about that. Is there a chart somewhere that these guys go by? Okay, he's got 1 year left, so I got to go with my top guys. I don't know. But both these guys, Helsley was incredible last year. Devin Williams is, when he's on the mound, he misses bats with the best of them. So you're talking about two guys. You're right. These are elite relievers. So teams that are looking for, help at the back end of their bullpen, you can't really do much better. So yeah, I guess the question would be, do you go out and I mean, I think Tanner Scott's going to cost you a 4-year, 60 something million dollars. So if you're in it and you're saying, hey, I can really only make the commitment for 1 year, yes, I'll have to give up a prospect. These guys are going to be very appealing to you. But I'm curious about Devin Williams with the Brewers because I think you could offer him the qualifying offer after this year. So teams, they'll think about that, offering the qualifying offer. He'll turn it down because, he'll be looking to secure a longer deal for maybe less AAV, but more guaranteed money. So you recoup the draft pick there. So you don't have to trade it. You don't have to trade them. They're going to be in contention again. This is the Milwaukee Brewers we're talking about. They're always there. So as much as it seems like it's a foregone conclusion, I think the qualifying offer, I guess it makes sense for Helsley too. I really haven't thought about the qualifying offer for him, but if he has another year like he did in 2024, then
I don't know, man. I think they'd both take it. I mean, that kind of money for 1 year of a reliever.
Well, okay, what do you think on an open market? 17 million? The qualifying offer should be 22 next year? Like, they're not going to take that because they're going to be looking to cash in.
They could get 2 at 15 per.
I guess what was the latest big time reliever contract? Diaz, right?
Edwin set the record.
That was
Josh Hader, Edwin Diaz.
Okay, what Hader get?
Under 90 million?
5 for 95 is in my head. I'll double check.
Got 6 for 90 in my head.
5 for 95. So yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, these are guys on top of the game. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't have that, and I think. Okay, so that might even go more on my side, Trev, because the other thing I was going to throw in, you mentioned Tanner Scott. Hey, maybe these were one-off trades that the world's not going to look like that. The Padres dealt packages for Tanner Scott and Jason Adams. I mean, Marlins got the Padres, and this was like a respected farm system for Tanner Scott and Brian Hoeing, who threw some innings for them. Put some respect on his name. Their number 2 prospect, Robbie Snelling. Their number 4 in Mazer. Number 5 in Graham Pauley. So they gave up 3 of their top 5 prospects for half a year Tanner Scott. Now, I don't think that's going to become the standard. Like, the Padres really thought they had a title lined up, and they did, except for their final 2 games. But I don't know, man. That's a price tag that we would have daydreamed last year for Crochet.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm nervous about their trade market and everything you just said. Like, okay, they could just pitch for us for a year and we could get the comp pick. I don't know. Or just wait to the deadline. Like, how much is it going to hurt their value? Last deadline, it might even help their value. So
yeah, at that point, teams know, hey, this is really a deficiency.
Right.
And we are going to make the playoffs most likely. So yeah, that's when they're willing to pull the trigger. You going into the season, you have the aspirations, but you also have your roster, and you like your roster. You put it together. So you're saying, hey, if these guys have great years, we don't need Devin Williams. But when you get into the season at the deadline, if you need him or not 100%. So yeah, there's a lot of things. That's the good thing about having these good players is you can kind of dictate, the timing of it. You don't have to go out and trade them right now. So I'm curious for both these guys. I think both of them would get offered the qualifying offer if they went and had full years again.
Yeah.
So that's where my head's at.
Yeah, that's something to watch even into spring training, I guess. Especially Helsley. Like, the Cardinals are going to have a unique offseason here. IMO. I mean, we'll see what it looks like. That, for the Brewers, they're going to be expected to win the Central again and have Devin Williams and the qualifying offer and all that. Yet at the same time, they have a history. They traded Hader. Where if the Cardinals, if they don't have the expectations, and I don't know, if a team's closer goes down in camp or something like that, I think we could be on Helsley watch, up until opening day. And then if not, you just wait until the deadline, basically. let's see. I think that's a lot of the big boys. I do see Michael Tonkin listed here. I guess, who else is on your mind, Trev? I that's more open-ended than you like and is fair to you. But, I feel like we're going to hear the names we've heard the past few years. Like Jonathan India probably is going to pop up in trade rumors. And, is Toronto going to do something? What are the Cubs? I don't know. We can really start spinning our tires, or we could not.
Yeah, I think for me it's more teams and not necessarily specific players. Yeah, I think the Tigers are one of my teams that I keep thinking they got to have a good offseason here. They got to acquire some players, so I think I'm looking for them to make some adjustments. I think the Orioles are one we've been waiting on to do something for quite some time. They really haven't. They went and got Corbin Burns. That was great. Now they don't have Corbin Burns anymore. So what do you do now to, supplement there? They're going to have to enter either the free agent market or, the trade market. Those are like my kind of two teams that I'm on high alert for. And then you could go to teams like the Phillies and the Yankees who are they're desperate. Like this is like the window is here and it's not going to be there forever. So these two teams, they went all in. And the Yankees are going to try to really go all in and get Juan Soto back, but you have to really make your decision and you have to hit it. Like they have to hit on all their decisions going forward because this is like the time, and the fan base for both of those teams is rabid, and they're not necessarily happy, even though the Yankees went to the World Series, not happy with how it went down.
Yeah.
And what people are talking about with their organization, and the fifth inning will live on in infamy forever. So I think those two teams, Phillies, Yankees, have some soul searching to do. We're being honest. Like if the Yankees don't go out and get Juan Soto, I don't know if that pushes them to just go full tilt and go get 3 or 4 guys in free agency, or if they kind of shrivel up and say, oh shit, now what? I don't think that would be the case, but we've seen that happen to teams before when they miss out on their guy, i.e. the Toronto Blue Jays.
I'm interested to track this Nolan Arenado stuff. It obviously got traded from the Rockies famously. The AAV gets a little interesting. His last 2027 year is for $15 million, so there's some funny business there. And I think, I've heard Yankee fans clamoring. I've heard Astros fans clamoring. I just dreamt up a fake trade with Seattle that if Arenado is available and the price tag isn't, and it wouldn't be one of these prospect-filled packages, you have a chance at a Hall of Famer for lower risk. And, again, the Houston thing is just spinning in my head right now. Hey, Bregman's gone, and that hurts, and he was our guy and all of that. Okay, do you guys mind Nolan Arenado for a couple years? And that almost allows them to be more flexible. The Tigers, like you said, I'm starting to like Jordan Montgomery for them, man, because that's like you're giving out the money, you're using your money, but it's for 1 year. Let's find out if this was real. And then if it was and Jordan Montgomery's there, then you can go to ownership and be like, hey, we full-blown have the core now. Let's go get some more cornerstone pieces. So, man, that's where I love this stuff. We didn't talk about Nico Horner at all. What are the Cubs doing?
What are the Cubs doing? I think the Astros have some interesting decisions coming up because you have a guy like Framber who's a free agent after the year. So what do you do with that? You just keep him and offer him the qualifying offer. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. Or obviously try to extend him, but they haven't operated like that recently. So there's a lot of guys with the 1 year left. Ryan Presley, I know, has been mentioned a lot in trade rumors as he is a free agent after this year as well. So, I think there's a lot of guys, we talked about some of the notable names, but there's a ton of guys who we didn't get to that are obviously being talked about a lot right now. But I think this early in the offseason, for me, I'm more focused on teams than specific players.
Yeah. You've God, there's so much I feel like we didn't mention just because we don't know, Like I have no idea what Kansas City's off-season plan is. Like, some of
they already signed Waka.
Right. But like
we put together some hypothetical free agent signings for them and some trades for them. I mean, I think they're going to be in the mix.
A couple of those Tampa guys. Like
relievers are going to be of interest to the Kansas City Royals. Some outfielders are going to be of interest to the Kansas City Royals. I mean, you could talk about, getting a third baseman there. Like, there's a lot of things that they can do. They have holes. This isn't like a complete team. They overproduced greatly last year. So there's a lot of holes to fill on that team. And if you have a guy like Bobby Witt who you want to build around, let's go.
Trev, I have one more team I want to bring up just because as my brain's spinning on like what teams have we kind of missed. It's brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook. A chill in the air, leaves are on the ground, man. It felt like it went from fall to winter quick in the big city. It is cold today. I had to put on my jacket to take Noodle out last night. And hey, at DraftKings, maybe cozy up with maybe a touchdown bet because it's the #1 place to bet touchdowns. All new customers who bet $5 will instantly get $200 in bonus bets when you use code TALKIN. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code TALKIN. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code TALKIN only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Trevor, a team we haven't said this whole episode.
I can't wait. I'm trying to think.
A team that's supposed to be in the window.
Minnesota Twins.
A team that's supposed to operate a little differently.
Okay.
How are the Pittsburgh Pirates getting in this mix? They have to. They have to. If they walk away saying we're banking on our young minor league hitters.
So, yeah, I mean, they came out and said they were going to improve the team. They didn't really improve the team last year. And, I'm okay with that. Jared Jones was hurt. Paul Skeens was coming up on, max innings and all these things. But now, you have a formidable rotation there, a top 3 that could rival pretty much anyone's in all the league. So what are you going to do to surround them? Yeah, I mean, there is holes galore there in that offense. You could really go and just say, yeah, that guy's a fit, that guy's a fit, that guy's a fit. I do hope, again, I do hope that they are aggressive. How aggressive they're going to be, I don't know, man.
Right. But they have to be because they're not going to be aggressive in high-end free agency, right? So if you can't be aggressive there, then you have to be aggressive in the trade market. Like I know Jolly on our trade app threw out like Max Kepler signing there, which we are like, yeah, that potentially has a high reward at the back end to it, but that doesn't change the Pirates' identity next year. Like
you move O'Neal Cruz to the outfield, so shortstop's open.
Bo Bichette.
Willie Adames.
They're not going to be the highest bidder for Willie Adames.
You never know how these markets shake out. So, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think Willie Adames is going to go there, but I'm spitballing here, man.
I know.
Pretty much, Ke'Bryan Hayes is such an interesting player for them because he just does not hit. And so he doesn't really profile at third base anymore besides the glove. So, what do you do with that guy? Can he play shortstop and then get a third baseman that bangs? Like, why not?
Oh.
Bring Cole Tucker back?
Bring Cole Tucker back. It'll solve
the
vibes.
They have players there too, though, man. They have players there. If you go up and down the lineup, they have some special talent. What's the second baseman's name? Is it Nick Gonzalez?
Nick Gonzalez came up last year and hit.
I like him a lot, dude. A lot. So you have him. You got O'Neal. Who's our guy? Brian Reynolds out there. Like they have talent, but they need more of it.
There's spots on that lineup that could be filled.
Yes.
And again, the trade market is the way you'd think a team like the Pirates would build on it. Hey, maybe a slight reminder at the end. You guys know your team better than us. What do you guys have cooking? And try to be as realistic as possible. You might not have to get in the weeds with prospects. Maybe get in the weeds with fits or why. why does this make sense? And then we go, oh, yes. I've heard Nolan Arenado loves seafood. So
Stop talking about him.
Him in Seattle would be perfect.
Put him on the Yankees so you shut up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried. He's had facial hair his whole career. I get worried about that. So thank you guys. We'll be back Monday unless there's breaking news, right? So, wow.
Chick sucks.
Do you know who was hanging out with Nameless Jeff?
No.
Jazz Chisholm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting combo.
It's very obvious if you think about it.
Yeah. I think we might get Jazz to the office at some point. We'll see.
Jazz and Jeff.
Jazzy Jeff.
Come.